The evening shift was always been a sanctuary of routine for a 28-year-old waitress Jada who worked at Poppy's Cafe, a small but peaceful corner nestled in a quiet part of town. The cafe was a hub for retired regulars who enjoyed their coffee and met up with each other and exchanged their stories and recalled their good and bad days of their past. Jada liked the rhythm of her job, the soothing hum of conversation, the familiar faces, and the occasional chuckle from Mr. Smith, the owner, who always seemed to know the perfect time to crack a joke. But tonight was different. The cozy predictability of the evening shattered with the soft chime of the doorbell. Jada glanced up and froze. Most of the patrons were regulars, retired locals who came in to enjoy their coffee, but he is new face in this small safe. Jada was shocked and thinking that she is dreaming, her eyes widening as she recognized him. Who is walking into Poppy's like it was the most natural thing in the world? It was Lionel Messi, the global football superstar, walking casually into the cafe as if he were just another customer. Jada blinked, certain she must be imagining it, but it was him, his unmistakable presence, the calm confidence he carried, and the slightly shy smile she had seen him in countless times on TV, in interviews, and on social media. What was he doing here, in this quiet little cafe? She thought. He took a seat at a small booth near the window and started looking outside. The regulars, usually uninterested in anything beyond the town's borders, were abuzz with whispers. Heads turned, and even Frank, who rarely left his coffee, was craning his neck for a better view. Jada's heart raced. Gathering herself, she took a deep breath and put a warm smile on her face and approached Messi's table. "Hi there. What can I get for you tonight?" she asked, keeping her tone casual, though her nerves betrayed her. "Just coffee, please. Black coffee, and maybe a slice of whatever pie you have," he replied, in his soft, measured tone. "Coming right up," Jada said, flashing her best smile. She hurried back to the counter, her hands shaking slightly, feeling the eyes of the other customers on her as she poured the coffee and plated a slice of apple pie. Some of the regulars were already muttering, a few of them looking somewhat irritated, though Jada didn't quite understand. What is happening? Why pouring his coffee and platting a slice of apple pie? She reminded herself that he was just a customer. She wanted to give him the same friendly service she gave anyone else, even if he was, well, Lionel Messi, returning to his table. Whispers of doubt. As she returned to his table, she could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her. Setting the coffee and pie down gently, she said, "Here you go. Enjoy." "Thank you," Messi replied, his gaze briefly meeting hers before drifting to the window. Jada watched him for a moment before retreating to the counter. He looked contemplative, as though he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. She wondered what had brought him here, a quiet place, far removed from the noise of stadiums and cameras. But the atmosphere in the cafe was shifting. The whispers among the regulars grew louder, tinged with skepticism. Frank, a retired coach who prided himself on his knowledge of the game, muttered something under his breath. Others nodded in agreement. Jada couldn't help but feel protective. To her, Messi wasn't just a football legend. He was a symbol of perseverance, humility, and excellence. Yet not everyone seemed to see it that way. The confrontation. Frank eventually stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. He walked over to Messi's table, his voice carrying across the room. "Aren't you Lionel Messi?" Frank asked, though it was more of a statement than a question. Messi looked up, his expression calm. "Yes, I am." Frank crossed his arms. "So, you've left Barcelona and gone to play in Saudi Arabia. What's that about, huh?" Isn't football supposed to be about loyalty? About passion? A hush fell over the cafe. Messi set his coffee cup down slowly, his face unreadable. Football is my passion, he said evenly. But sometimes, life takes you in unexpected directions. It wasn't an easy decision. Frank wasn't satisfied. Easy for you to say, with all the money and fame. But what about the fans? Don't you think you owe them something? Jada's stomach knotted as she watched the exchange. Messi's calm demeanor didn't falter, but there was a subtle tension in his shoulders. He had faced criticism before, but here, in this small, intimate setting, it felt deeply personal. It's not about the money, Messi said, his voice steady. I've always played for the love of the game, but I also have a family to consider and challenges I want to take on. Football is evolving, and I'm evolving with it. Jada speaks up. The room was heavy with judgment. Jada clenched her fists, unable to stay silent any longer. Frank, that's enough, she said, stepping forward. Her voice was calm, but firm. Do you really think someone like Messi needs to explain himself to us? He's given his life to football. He's inspired millions. Isn't that enough? Frank turned to her, his brow furrowed. I'm just saying. I know what you're saying, Jada interrupted. But loyalty? Passion? He's shown more of that in his career than most of us do in a lifetime. And if he's making decisions for his family or his future, who are we to judge? The cafe fell silent. Even Messi looked surprised, his gaze meeting Jada's with a flicker of gratitude. Sometimes, change is necessary, Jada continued, her voice gaining strength. And just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. A heavy price. Before the tension could ease, Mr. Smith emerged from the back. His frown deepened as he took in the scene. Jada, what's going on here? He asked, his tone sharp. Jada hesitated. I was just defending Mr. Messi, she said quietly. Mr. Smith sighed, shaking his head. I appreciate your passion, but this is a small-town cafe. Our regulars are what keep us open. We can't afford to upset them over anything. But I wasn't trying to upset anyone, Jada protested. I've made up my mind, Mr. Smith said firmly. You can finish the week, but after that, we'll have to part ways. Jada's heart sank. Poppy's had been her safe haven, a place she thought she belonged. Now, defending someone she admired had cost her everything, an unexpected return. The next day, Jada returned to work, her spirit heavy. The regulars avoided eye contact, their silence almost worse than the whispers. As the lunch rush faded, the bell above the door jingled. Jada glanced up and froze. It was Messi. He walked in with the same quiet confidence, taking the same table by the window. The cafe buzzed with quiet whispers, but Messi seemed unfazed. Jada hesitated, then brought him his usual coffee and pie. She tried to stay composed, but her hands trembled slightly as she set the plate down. Thank you, he said, his voice soft. She nodded and retreated, unsure of why he had returned. A life-changing offer. As Messi finished his coffee, he gestured for the bill. Jada approached, sliding the card machine onto the table. Thanks for coming back, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Messi met her gaze, his expression sincere. I came back to thank you, he said. What you did yesterday, it took courage. Not everyone would have spoken up. Jada blushed, looking down. I just said what I believed. Messi nodded thoughtfully. And that's exactly why I'm here. After I left, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I spoke with my team, and we'd like to offer you a position with our foundation. Jada blinked, unsure if she'd heard him correctly. What? Our foundation supports education and community programs, Messi explained. We need people like you, people with integrity and heart. It's not glamorous, but it's meaningful work. Tears welled up in Jada's eyes. She had never imagined such an opportunity. I don't know what to say, she stammered. Messi smiled. Just say yes. And she did. A new beginning. As Messi left the cafe, the room was silent. The regulars exchanged sheepish glances, and even Mr. Smith seemed taken aback. Jada stood behind the counter, her heart racing. She had lost her job, but gained something far greater, a chance to make a difference, to start anew. Sometimes, standing up for what you believe in changes everything. For Jada, it had opened a door to a future she hadn't dared to dream of. What would you have done in Jada's place? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.